Good morning. I'm here with John Pastorello, a preferred mortgage banker. So John, we completed our first video which explains to our clients the importance of getting pre-qualified. This second video is a training towards our sales agents. I'd like you to explain to all of our agents how getting buyers pre-qualified at the beginning will prevent problems down the road and help them be more successful.
Sure, Mark. Today's mortgage world is very different from a few years ago. While most buyers used to be able to assume they would qualify for a loan, today that's just not the case. And part of being a successful real estate agent in the current climate is understanding how the mortgage process is going to affect your transactions.
Okay, can you break that down more specifically?
Sure. I think the best piece of advice I can give your agents is to convince their buyers to get pre-qualified before showing them any properties. This will do a few things. It will make your buyers more efficient in their property searches. It will avoid wasting time with buyers who will never be able to buy. And it will avoid last-minute scrambles to get pre-qualified when a seller insists on seeing a pre-approval letter. So buyers, especially first-time buyers, often don't have a clear sense of what they can afford. So let's say an agent gets a new buyer who has not been pre-qualified and starts showing them properties right away. Once they find a property they like, now they have to go to a lender. So a couple things can go wrong at this point. The first one is that it can turn out that the buyer doesn't qualify at all. This can happen because of a credit problem that they didn't know about. It can happen because they didn't realize how much money would be needed to cover closing costs and down payment. Buyers in this situation are going to be extremely disappointed and they might drop out of the process completely. The second thing that can go wrong is the buyer realizes they've been aiming too high. Either because the payment would be too high or their income isn't sufficient for the lender. So in this case, the buyer might ask the agent to start a whole new property search at a lower price point, which means all the time that they've spent up till now on the search has been a waste.
Okay. Does this situation really occur that often?
Based on experience, I can tell you that it happens extremely often. Even in cases when buyers were certain they would not have problems. So when a buyer says something to you like, "Don't worry, I know I'm qualified," or "I'm putting down 50% so it won't be a problem," you should still ask them to speak to a lender before you qualify.
Absolutely. So as salespeople, we all occasionally encounter these types of So any final thoughts?
Yeah, I want to talk about overcoming the objection. I think that the best way to overcome the objection is to mention a few things to the buyer. First of all, the process is completely free. It can be done in 30 minutes or less over the phone or by email. It's completely non-committal, so the buyer, once they get a signed contract, is still completely free to shop any lender that they want. And then lastly, it will give them important information to frame their property search, like monthly payments, down payment amounts, closing costs. Now, it's possible that none of these is going to be enough to convince your buyer to get pre-qualified. In that case, I would emphasize that most sellers require a pre-approval letter in order to move forward. This practice has become extremely widespread because of the credit crisis. And so if you start without having a letter in hand, you risk losing an attractive property to a buyer who does have that letter. I think a serious buyer will recognize that this being the case, there's no point in waiting to get pre-qualified.
Thank you very much for taking the time to talk to us, John.
You're welcome, Mark.